And so we look at this story about our beloved former director of the school, Mr. Bill. Mr. Bill, he finally takes his turn, and his turn was to buy 7, and notice that they are foot long. It's not a 7-foot long sandwich, it's 7-foot long sandwiches. And there's 18 sterling staff. So if you imagine these 7 sandwiches, and imagine 18 people. So you don't have to draw 18 people. You can just draw 3 with some dots. Okay, so there's 1, 2, blah, 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 a bunch more people, all the way up to 18. And now, imagine that rather than try and figure out how to separate them out and cut them in thirds and everyone gets a third and then it's a little bit left over, the easiest way to think about it is everyone gets an equal piece of each one. So how much does this guy get out of the first sandwich? Well, there's 18 people, so he gets 1/18. 1/18. That same guy, how much does he get out of the next one? Also 1/18. So from each of the 7, he gets an 18th. So you get an 18th plus an 18th 7 times. So altogether, it's 7/18. So 7 sandwiches divided among 18 people. It's kind of easy when you think about it. 7/18. So in this one, Miss Lane brings him some chocolate, and she notices at the end of the day that there's some left. So the question is, how much did she give away? So let's make an statement out of that. She gave away chocolate. It looks like it's going to be in pounds. So let's make the abbreviation pounds. She gave away pounds. Okay. So what is it we're dealing with? We're dealing with chocolate. And the total is 4 4/5. So we make our unit bar and we say the total was 4 4/5. So she gives away some, and at the end, there's 2 7/8 left. So the question mark is, how much did she give away? So she gave away some, and then when you check, there was 2 7/8 left. Okay, and to solve this, we'll do some subtraction. So we'll say 4 4/5 take away the 2 7/8. So when you look at fifths and eighths, you say, well, what do I have to cut them up into to get similar sized pieces? To do that, fifths, tenths, 15ths, 20ths, 25, 30, 35, 40, you actually have to multiply them together. So we're going to get to 40ths. Okay, so we say 4 and how many 40ths? Well, we had to cut the fifths into 8 parts, so we have 4 times 8, we have 32 parts. And from that we're going to subtract 2, and then to make eighths into 40ths, we have to cut the eighths into 5 parts, so each of the 7 parts becomes 5, so we have 35. Now when you have this, you say, well, I can't subtract 35 from 32. So what can I do? Well, I can change this into a 3 and then exchange one of the wholes, and now all of a sudden I've got 32 plus 40 40ths, and subtract 2 and 35 40ths. Okay, so how much is that? Well, you can look at it and say, well, if I take 3 away from the 40, I've got 35 and there'll be 37 left. So I'll have 37 40ths. And how much do I have? Well, 3 minus 2, I have 1. So that looks like the right answer. Let's see if it makes sense. Okay, so if we add these two together, we should get 4 4/5. Okay, so 1 and 2 is 3. So the other things have to add up to 1 4/5. Okay, so we look at the 7/8, it's 35/40. If we take 3 of them, we can make a whole from this, and that would leave 32/40, which is indeed 4/5. Okay, so we're having pizza again. C12 and C14 having pizza together. They buy 12. C12 ate 5 7/8. C14 ate 3 3/5. How much is remaining? So we could set up our statement, and we can say, pizzas remained. Okay, so we think about the pizza. Well, how much was there? So altogether, there were 12. There were 12 pizzas. So what happened? C12 ate 5 7/8. And then C14 ate 3 3/5. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to add up these two and then subtract that from 12. So what we don't know is what was left. Okay, so let's try and add these up. So once again, we're going to have 40ths. So we'll add them up. So we'll have, see if I can make a little space for us. So we'll add together the 5 7/8 and the 3 3/5. We're going to add those together. We'll say, let's go to 40ths again. So we'll say 5 35/40. Okay, so times 5 and 3 and times 8 and 24/40. So that gives us 8 and 59/40. Okay, and that equals, of course, 9 and 19/40. That wasn't very neat. Try that again. 19/40. So we have to subtract that from 12. So let's think about that for a second. So 12 take away 9 and 19/40. And so one way to think about it is let's add up. So what do we have to add to this to get to 10? Well, if you have 19 out of 40, you need 21 out of 40. So this is like the complements that we've practiced a lot. So if we do that, we're at 10, and to get from 10 to 12, we just need 2 more, right? And so altogether, the answer, adding up, is 2 and 21/40. Now, of course, you could subtract. Okay, I don't think that's as good a way to do it, really. Adding up is always easier than subtracting, but let's look at it from this point of view. Okay, so 12 minus 9 and 19/40. And so what we can do is, what we've done before is we can say, okay, we'll just make that 11 and 40/40. So we'll exchange one whole for 40/40. And now we can do it as well. So 40 take away 19 is 21/40, and there's 2 left. Okay, so there you have it both ways. I like the adding up way better. So when we look at this problem, this Carrie had a liter, so 1 liter and a quarter, so 1 1/4 bottle of maple syrup. She used an eighth, then she used 5/6. How much is left? Okay, so it's another fraction problem that really has 2 parts. And we see that our statement would be is, there is liters left. Has liters left. So what are we looking at? We're looking at syrup. And so altogether it was 1 1/4. So we'll leave it as a fraction. What did she use? She used 1/8. And then she used 5/6. And the question for us is, what's left? So it's the same idea as before. So we add these two up, and then we subtract. So if we want to add up 1/8 and plus 5/6, well, 8ths, 16, 24, 6, 12, 18, 24. So let's go to 24ths. One-eighth is 3/24. 5/6. So to get to 24ths from 6, you cut them in 4 parts. So the 5 pieces cut in 4 parts is 20. We say, oh, well, this is great. We've got. And so then we look at it and we say, this was 20/24. And I'd suggest you think about it this way. So if you think from 0 to 1, if you've used 20/24, you can just leave it in 20/24 if you want. How far is it to 1? Well, it's 4 more 24ths. And then how far is it to what you started off with? 1 1/4. Well, it's 1/4. So 4/24 plus 1/4. Well, let's just put those together. 4/24 plus 1/4, but 1/4 equals, well, if you cut 1/4 into 6 parts, you get 24ths, 6/24. So we have 6 plus 4, 6 plus 4, 24ths. So we have 10/24 left, but that looks like it can reduce to 5/12. Now, let's see if that answer makes sense. So does it make sense that it would be 5/12? Well, we think about it. 5/6 and 1/8. Well, 1/8 isn't a 6, so it's a little bit less than 1. So a little bit less than 1 plus 1/4 is still less than 1/2. So it seems possible. So I might have made a mistake, but it seems possible that that's correct. So in this problem, you have to pay close attention. Okay? So Mr. Bill ate 2/3 of a pizza. Okay, so all problems will start like that. Somebody ate part of a whole. But the hard part is, did he eat a fraction of what was left, or did he eat a fraction of what we originally had? Now this one isn't so hard to understand, because when we look at it, we see that 2/3 and 5/8 would be more than a whole. So the 5/8 must be of what was left. All right, so sometimes it'll be of the original. And so you have to make sure you know which one is which. Okay, so what are we talking about here? Talking about pizza. And so if we think about the whole, so what happened at first? So at first, we ate 2/3. And then we ate 5/8 of what was left. Okay, so we take what's left and cut it in half. We cut each half in half till we get quarters. And then we cut each of those in half to get eighths. And how many did Mr. Bill eat of that? He ate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what is left? These 3 pieces. Okay? But now imagine that we cut each of these into 8 parts as well. So if we started cutting this and started cutting this and kept going, there would be 8 parts here, and 8 parts here, and 8 parts here. All together then there would be 24 parts. And so what's left is these 3 parts. So it's 3 out of the 24 pieces, which equals 1/8.